the trick with the dirt bike, and this is just like in road racing and stuff like that, you don't stab it. You want to settle the tire down. Is that like wearing like a Thor jersey with JT pants or something like that?
But, when you start getting up into your 60s and 70s, you got to do everything you can, because you sure as hell can't do it when you're dead.
Okay, it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, show number 290. Yes, this horrible podcast, pod show, video, vlog, influencer, presenter thing guy has been doing this 290 times. I think I've done all the episodes. There actually is more, according to the tubes of you that we go up on. That somehow it gets more than I make. So my name is Jimmy Lewis. This is the show where we answer your motorcycle and motorcycle product related questions. Sometimes there is a slight delay with the sound and the video, and sometimes the audio is not working, but let me know how it's working in the chat if you're in there. 290, congratulations. Ray Groom, formerly of the Gargoyle Lounge. Another, he would know a lot about this engine that's right up behind it, because I used to smoke him with actually these cases, but it had, like, at that time it was only a 121 or a 118, and so okay, got lots of people that are checking us out on the Instagrams. I've got the show before the show going, which is right here. If you wonder how this thing all works, everybody, it's a professional operation brought to you by companies like Fast Company, maker of the Flex handlebars, which I use so that my wrists can go riding for more than one day in a row. So if you want to have good, comfy handlebars that absorb the bumps, and then you can, Ray said, not at Carlsbad. No, I didn't beat you at Carlsbad. I don't remember that. Never remember doing anything but perfection, kind of like this show. So yeah, other sponsors. Of course, this is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha really helps us out. They believe in what we do, and they've been a big supporter of Dirt Bike Tests as whole. They help us with all of our projects, whether we're testing Yamahas and or other brands. They are helping us keep this ship afloat, because it ain't cheap. Millions of dollars are invested in this particular program. Also, seat concepts, bulletproof designs. I don't know if I'm with Trail Tech anymore. I got some interesting news about Trail Tech that I need to find out about, which wasn't what I wanted to hear. But anyways, what other sponsors do we have? Lots of different people on the show. But anyways, so tonight we have been working on a project where I got a really good proposal from a guy, because everybody like, hey, I want to test your bikes. How do I get to do that? Well, send me a really good proposal. Prove to me that you can actually put a period at the end of the sentence, and or produce a little piece of video content, or do something to, it's real simple. You help me, I help you. That's the way that we do things, even when we're, doing stuff for the club, by the way. There we go. That's part of the club. And you see a lot of the club stickers around here, a lot of club paraphernalia. There's special items that, you can't get at any certain times, but, okay. So I haven't seen any questions on the Instagrams, because you already lost your attention span. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try my best to introduce some guests, but not before it's hot here. And since I'm a connoisseur of beer, I'm going to have a, really nice beer, but extra light, right? Because everybody needs to have a really good beer, really nice, flavorful, enjoyable beer. So as you see, we don't have any in-studio guests yet tonight, but I'm here, and here we go. So welcome. Hopefully my guests have unmuted themselves. So I'd like to welcome to the show, and that's Bill Dougherty. And the way this works is when they talk, it'll switch over to Mike Dougherty,
That'd be me.
Okay, see, there's Mike. And I've known Mike for a long time because he's been in the industry. He had stuff to do with ATK, and you were working, weren't you doing stuff with the Highland guys at some point?
I
Never Highland?
No, yeah, I remember. I really never did anything with him. I met
Okay.
the head guy for a little while, but didn't really do anything with him.
I must have met you at the same time. And then Dean Taylor. Say hi, Dean.
Hey guys.
Okay, there we go. So Dean Taylor is the instigator behind this, and they're going to all have to correct me on on what they have going. And you guys on Instagram can't see that I just magically made other people from other meetings appear on this horrible podcast. So I'm going to hang up on you. We will see you on the other side when you switch over to the Facebook. We're live on Facebook and live on YouTube. See ya. Okay, so I got rid of that. It's like a way to promote the show, but it's not very good. Kind of like everything I do. It's half-assed. So Dean, you were at Cycle Guide magazine?
Yeah, I spent I spent 3 years on staff there, and then I did their test stuff for a couple of years after that. Started there in 78, I think. I think my first test was a 79 Honda CR250.
Wow.
We did, actually did a shootout with the CR250 and the RM250 shootout.
Crazy. So do you, when you think about that, do you remember the year based on the bike you rode?
Yeah, so it is based on the bike I rode, and I know we had it before they actually came out. And I also remember it was my first cover, and my first cover was the December of 78 issue, as I recall.
Nice. It's funny because that's how I remember back when I started doing stuff at Cycle World. I remember the bike I tested, I remember the first ones, and I was doing it as a contributor. So I was maybe a little different. I was doing stuff as a contributor, and then I sort of got brought on as staff. And then I remember what the contributor bike was. I remember the staff bike. And then I remember like kind of different times of different things. Like I remember when I started a dirt ride, I remember the first bikes that I rode for that, magazine. So it's weird because I can't remember the dates. But then I go, oh, that was the 2005 YZ125. That was this year, which is kind of interesting.
Yep, exact same thing for me, right? I can remember the bikes, but don't necessarily remember the year or the month that we did it. Except for I did it the other way around. I actually was on staff, and then when they got tired of me working there, I just became a contributor and just showed up for the test days.
Or was it because you couldn't put a didn't know the difference between a colon and a semicolon?
Probably not. I think we both worked for the same guy at one point in time. So
yeah,
so we know how pretty tough Paul Dean. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We had a whole staff full of we had a full staff of people that were much more proficient at the riding than I was, and so when I was kind of learning and doing all this stuff, they would really edit me, for everything, not just punctuation and grammar and all the stuff like this. And my spelling was probably horrible, and it was before spell check and all these things, but somehow they tolerated, and I didn't get kicked to the curb. I think they wanted, like, I was definitely better at most everybody on staff at riding motorcycles, and they wanted to make sure that I knew that they were better at me than writing, and it was blatantly obvious.
That was the exact same thing with me. I was by far the better writer on the staff. I remember writing a proposal for Paul where I was going to go race a Supercross, I think in Seattle or something. Back in that day, I had an AMA Pro license, and his response to me was it seemed like a high risk crapshoot that I'd ever get anything written. So.
that sounds exactly like I remember Paul. So Paul was like our executive editor when I worked there. David Edwards was the editor in charge, and I was working with on the writing side. Brian Catterson was always somebody that I really respected because he didn't want to change my voice. he let me use my moto words and stuff like that, where some of the other people on staff, I sounded a little, I don't want to say uneducated, which I was, but I went to the schools. I just didn't pay attention. So anyways, so Dean sent me an idea. He threw a pitch at me about wanting to do Vegas to Reno. It was and showed me some of the other projects he'd be working on. And he said, is there any way that dirt bike tests like to be involved? And I said, yeah, I'd like to try to do something. I just happen to be really good friends with Johnny Campbell. He knows how to run a ridiculously successful off-road racing effort. He's kind of scaled back on the US side now because he's definitely more involved with the Dakar bike, durability and preparation. Still does a lot of stuff with Honda here in the States. And I kind of pitched it to Johnny and I said, hey, because they're doing it, because Preston's racing, and I don't know if they've announced all the stuff. I know some different things that they're got planning. So they're getting ready for that. And I said, hey, Johnny, you want to do a bike for some old dudes? And he said, why not? And so you guys get to ride a JCR Honda CRF 450X. That will I sent you a picture of it.
It looks great, by the way.
Yeah, I wanted to put the picture on the show, but then I got more interested in finding one of these really awesome beers but I will get it up in the show as we kind of when you guys starts talking, I can maybe click on some buttons and send me the email. It will get me the photo up. But so you guys are going to do Reno to Vegas, it's Vegas to Reno. What do they call it? Vegas to Reno in verse?
The other way.
Backwards.
The other way.
They call it Vegas to Reno the other way.
Yeah.
And so tonight we're going to hopefully do another little segment with you where Johnny can talk about the bike and how they build it and modify it. And I was kind of hoping to get Nolan, who is one of his racers who's over there. I think he's working on the bike right now, or they're going to get tacos. I'm not sure. Because they were out, they've been doing durability on some stuff and they were out all day it's a city that it's just like hell. That's how hot it is where they were at. And so they did so they're a little bit cooked, but they keep going. And then but I wanted to just kind of, because we kind of briefly talked on one of the other episodes about just some practice stuff. And then I saw your episode number 2 and you guys are doing, what's your YouTube page is called?
Old Pro Racing.
Old Pro Racing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something I made up for this.
Got it. And so you have produced a couple videos and I will share those for sure. I'll get them because tomorrow I have to work on some things. I'll get those kind of shared over on our social platforms. Every time I go to work on our website, it tells me there's critical errors and that I'm going to be hacked and it's going to blow up and they want money.
Yeah, of course they do.
So we'll get some of those videos shared so people can kind of follow along with the story, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and then kind of, but I wanted to go over because both Johnny and I were just talking. I mean, and I mentioned it to you guys, like the success of this is based on, you guys having a good story. And I hate to say it from the journalist perspective, is like horrible events tend to produce better stories. Like when things go wrong.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? But this is a big but. I struggled my entire journalistic career because I had relatively decent success at race events and stuff that I went to and I did. And so, and I mean, I'm not bragging here, but when the bad, just like, you learn a lot from your bad experiences and stuff like that. It's easier to tell a story about the bad things. And sometimes the bad things point out the things that you did wrong. But if you do proper preparation, it prevents piss poor performance. And that was something that was beat into me as I was growing up as a racer. So I took that into when I was doing I knew how to prepare for racing and events, even though it wasn't doing it full time. I kind of knew the background and what to do it. And you guys have some experience with that. And I just want to make sure that we have a successful race with very little stories to tell other than how everything went really good. Does it sound like a good plan?
That's absolutely 100% what we're looking for. I mean, at our age, nobody's going to call us when we're done with this and offer us a full-time ride, right? We're doing this, number one, because we love racing. We love riding on motorcycles, and we have the time and money, and you have to have something to live for, right? I mean, at 69 years old, I don't know. Nobody knows how many years they have left, but when you start getting up into your 60s and 70s, you got to do everything you can, because you sure as hell can't do it when you're dead. So we want to go. We want to have fun. There are a couple of teams we'd love to beat. One being our friend Jeff Miller.
He was your riding coach.
He was our riding coach. Yeah. We've known Jeff. Well, Mike, Bill, you guys.
Okay, maybe this will explain some of my fundamental disagreements with his coaching for you guys. Keep going.
Let's hear it. What'd you think?
Oh no, we'll get into this later.
Okay. Maybe he was trying to sabotage us because he's afraid of us, right?
It definitely could be.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that. And the other guy is Dick Wilkes' team. I mean, they're a powerful team. They have Scott Stern on their team.
Oh geez. Yeah, I know Sternum.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have a big stick someplace along the trail and maybe slow them down, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Okay. So well, and then Dick, sometimes he calls up that character Chuck's son.
Yeah, we actually Bill, when did we race against Dick and Chuck's son? Was that 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, Chuck's son was on the team that was right in front of us. And when we had who and bad tire situation, we coulda, shoulda, woulda been right on him, but that cost us a little bit on that one. But Chuck was on that other team.
Yeah, and they actually got second. Miller's team beat them that year, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting that there's this really active group of 60 racers in some of these desert series and stuff. Because I see this down in Mexico. I know it in Nora. Well, Larry Engel finished second overall in the Nora Mexican 1000 a few years ago, and mostly 100% because he was just being smart. And I definitely not the fastest guy, not the greatest navigator, but he knows it. But I think more than anything, he knew what he was capable of, and he just rode to his potential and didn't really worry a whole lot about what everybody else around him was doing. And they all did what they did, made mistakes. And so I'll tell you, with this project, one of the things that I would like the viewers to get out of this is how to do it right. Even if you aren't, like a factory rider, like I said, you're at a point in your life, and some of my I'm 50. I don't want to 58 now, I guess. So I'm still a kid, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Just kid. Okay, good. So you can just lay it on any time. But when my friends are telling me about like life, they're all talking about like looking at like a soccer game or a football game or something like that, where you have your 4 quarters, and they say, you're definitely, you could be at the end of your 3rd quarter, starting the 4th quarter, getting into the 1st quarter. And they say a lot of times, if you knew at the halfway point, like how you're going to plan your next 2 quarters, did you wreck yourself before the halfway, before the second half? Do you need to do, and this is where I'm at, it's like I kind of thought I was going to do a refresh during halftime, but I kind of went the wrong way at halftime and didn't kind of keep it up. So now I'm getting close to the 4th quarter, and I got to decide how I want to play that 4th quarter. Does that work for you guys? Make sense?
I think that's exactly what the 3 of us are going through, and probably everybody else I know our age.
Yeah. And you might get overtime.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right?
Right. You know, if you're a little behind, you play good in the fourth, you might get overtime. And so that's, I don't know. I've been a kind of like, not recklessly, but hey, like live every day, get the most out of it. Because you don't know, there's not a time clock. You can't see what it is. So I'm always respect when, because when I was a kid, I remember guys that were racing when they were 40, there wasn't that many of them and they seemed ancient. And now those are some of the biggest classes.
Oh, I think if you go to the old timers motocross, it's the 60 expert class is the biggest class, right? It's it's guys that have the time and the money.
Yeah, it's well, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. I went the very first time I raced a 40. I don't know, it was a motocross or a Grand Prix. Like everybody had like the trickiest bikes and, they had the money and stuff like that. And then they went I've never been in a crazier first turn. And I thought, okay, that was just that one. Every single time I raced 40 plus moto or something where we were doing a first turn kind of a thing, craziest first turns I'd ever been in. And I'm like, oh, these guys got really expensive bikes. They're way out of shape and they have good medical insurance. Bad combination. Yeah. So,
that's kind of like Bill and I. Bill and I knew each other for years. I was just going to say, and then we ran into each other at a motocross in Fernley, Nevada, right? And we tried to kill each other that day. I mean, we looked like Deegan and Kitchen, and that right? Or I don't know who did
like Shimoda, like not hopefully not like Deegan and Shimoda. At the last, no.
But here we are. We're both in our early 50s at that time, and we were. I mean, it was tooth and nail.
Yeah. So
I beat him,
so anyway, that's good. Always throw that in there, and so Mike, are you the kid in this whole thing?
Apparently, I am.
By how much?
3 years, 4 years. I don't know.
4 years.
4 years.
So all in the 60s. And like I said, there's good classes. So like I said, the idea is to kind of talk everybody through kind of like the preparation going into it and stuff. And the good thing is you don't have to worry about the bike, but we'll talk about that later. But I just spent 3 days out riding out near Tonopah doing some stuff. And a lot of the same, not the, I don't want to say the same, not like on the route, because I kind of have an idea where it goes, because there's only a few places that go through there, but on a lot of those similar kinds of roads, especially roads that have been recently graded. And the good thing about Vegas to Reno, especially when you compare it to Baja, is it's not rough. Like it's not hoop-de-doos and just, cut ruts and all this. Well, it could be a little rutty because of what they're doing, but when I was riding out there, I was thinking like, what would I, if I were talking to, 3 guys that want to go to do Vegas, Reno, want to do really good, what would I tell them? And so this is what I started kind of thinking about a lot when I was riding out there. But the other thing that they're doing this year, it's a little bit different. I don't want to call it a money grab, but they're doing the pre-fun run again. You guys are kind of aware of this.
Yep.
The what are they calling it? The Legends ride or run
Legends
or
Rally? Yeah,
Legends Rally. Okay, so Casey folks back in the early days of Best in the Desert, because there was no we can't allow open pre-running on race courses. It would just be it's just with our current land management practices and stuff, it doesn't fit into the proposals. So that would have to be done in like an open area. So Casey used to do what he called the pre-fun run, and I don't know that he charged for those back in the days, but I think he would offer a hotel package, and that's how he would make the little bit of money. And it was mostly because back then the towns needed this revenue to have everybody come through. So there's a good side. The bad side is that like back then people were doing it in stock trucks, and we were able to do it on our dirt bikes. But it was all kind of kept at a low speed. But the low speed back then was low speed because trucks had 3 inches of suspension travel and stock shocks and different things like that. Now, when these guys are driving like basically pre-runner trophy trucks, and there's a whole bunch of guys running UTVs, and I know they're going to keep it controlled to a speed, but I'm sure the speed's going to a little bit higher. And when you get that many guys going around all those turns and the ground out there, it's going to make silt ruts that ordinarily wouldn't be there for the bikes. And this is what I saw when I was out there, because, you know, with some of the events that I work with and do different things, I spend a lot of time out there, and I see the roads like right after the race, and they grade them like within a week. And I mean, they're blown out, and they grade them and they fix them. And I really think that one organization out there is doing a really good job of trying to put the roads, trying to fix them so that they last longer. And I think there's another organization that is just driving a blade over the top of them and doesn't care where they put the rocks. So there's a little bit of a difference in there, in the stuff. So it depends on like which road you're on. And as I noticed, it was a big difference in a lot of it, but cause they're definitely not going to grade it after they do this speed controlled pre-run. So it's going to get puffy and silty. And the problem is that generally where the car tires go is where the rocks fall.
Right.
And when you're the first bike on a freshly graded road, those rocks that you don't see when you hit them, you're only hitting a little bit of the rock. when you're after, 50, 70, 100 cars or whatever they have going over this thing, you're going down another 3 inches or something like that. And those things don't care when they hit rocks like that. Motorcycle does. So my number one concern would be, and you guys can help me with this. How's the vision?
For me, it's what you would expect with a guy my age, right? I'm wearing my glasses underneath the goggles. So,
okay.
I'm good.
Because
I don't have any problem.
Yeah, mine's still okay, but it's not as good as it used to be. I'll tell you that right now. And so I hit more stuff. Like I used to see everything that I hit, and now I hit some things that I don't see. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting lazy. Because I've when you just get so comfortable because you accumulated so many miles, and you're just like, oh, it's not going to be that bad, and like boom, and it gives you that kick or that hit. That would be my number one biggest concern, is just pegging rocks and kind of being ready for that. Make sense?
Well, I would ask Dean and Bill, who have experienced the last 3 years in a lot of Nevada desert races. From our level, what did you guys think about rocks that you didn't see?
Bill?
I've hit a few. Dean did a great job on the 2 bikes we did, setting up suspension. They went straight. Didn't really scare me, but what Jimmy's talking about, the silt, Dean, you and I can only remember one section where I had some really nasty silt beds in the truck grooves that are really, really hard to read. And I was trying to ride the edge, but when I ride the edge, I'm looking at boulders on the edge. But Jimmy, the stuff that they grade, and we've all got good vision. We're all looking ahead, and you miss 95% of rocks or boulders that you see, but you might kiss one or two, and you go back to trusting your suspension, and you go back to being in the right riding position. Dean, you and I talked about that, and as long as that thing goes straight and it doesn't kick us, we feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you'll be in good hands there. I wouldn't worry about the bike, and in fact, because all you guys are kind of KTMs, yes, KTM Husky, Austrian brand.
Yep.
The big change for you in with the bike is the Honda tends to be a little bit more stable just overall, and then from my perspective, like if you're racing, if I were racing and I was going to hit something I didn't see, I would rather hit it on a Honda. Is just kind of just the way that the chassis works, and it just seems like if you're kind of going on, the KTM, if I was being more lazy, the KTM, I would rather hit it on the KTM. Like KTM will absorb more and not do stuff. But if you're really going on the KTM, that's when it's like, God, I wish it was a little bit stiffer. So that's my take on that. But it'll be, and we'll only know when the race comes, like how much that changes the course, because like you're saying, if you're on the edge, you've really got to be careful on the edges, because of the years of that they've been grading these things. Of course, where do you think all the rocks end up? Is on the side of the roads, in the bushes. When you overshoot a turn, it's like you're not the only person that overshot that turn. And a lot of times the trucks are making that turn and they're kicking up the rocks and they got pushed over on the outside of the turn. So it's just, you don't want to get forced into going into the outside. And so that's, and then the rocks that you're not going to be able to see, the ones that just kind of like just give you the big surprise, that's where you rely on the bike. You have a Scott steering stabilizer on the bike, which helps a ton in that scenario specifically. And then you'll be running mooses. You'll have Pirelli tires and you'll be running good mooses, so you don't have to worry about that. So I think bike setup wise, it's going to be as good as possible, but it's just a matter of like how deep are those ruts going to be. And so you can't ride on the outside, and then it's like, okay, well then you just ride in the middle, which is fine kind of on the straightaways. But when you start coming into the turns and those trucks and stuff start getting on the brakes, they start digging the ruts in there. And then it's not like a flat surface anymore. It's like a hump, and so it's really hard to stay out of the silt, is what I was kind of getting at. And then who knows, like in silt, who knows what's in there? What can you see? Nothing.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to know. Jimmy, you said you were out there riding. Dean, you and I, the last 3 years, I don't remember. The lake bed had some silt in it, but I don't remember a lot of silt. I remember a lot of gravel. I remember a lot of dirt roads, high speed. You got to pay attention. You got to navigate your turns. But Jimmy, I think you're trying to scare us right now, because
I'm trying to warn you. So when you're out practicing and riding and stuff like that, if you can find maybe some roads that are a little bit more used up, where the UTVs have kind of gone and kind of cut some of those ruts, because that's what's going to be doing this pre-fun run. And they're going to, you got to think, what does it look like after 200 people go over a road? It's a lot different than a road that had, 20 or 25 bikes in front of you. So it's going to be a slightly different course than I think in the past. So that was the one thing. It was like, I was thinking for sure, because I came across some stuff that had just been raced on, and they had just recently graded the road, and there was a big difference between riding in the middle and riding in the rut, because it hadn't rained on it and it hadn't compacted it just yet. It was just poof dirt pushed into poof dirt, and you could definitely feel whether you were on the center of the road or whether you were in the truck rut. And then, if it looks smooth, I would ride on the outside a little bit, but it just depends on how rough it is. So I think because of that, I think there's going to be a little bit more of kind of survival in this race. I think there could be a little bit more what do I want to call it? Attrition. and maybe just kind of going in, you'll know after the first couple sections what the course is gonna be like, because it gets as torn up as anything. Just right off the start is going to be that really rocky section that they've always finished on. Yep. So you're it's one of those things you want to have your, and then Johnny will help you with strategy as well, because that's what he's really good at. But you want to have your most technical rider on there, and then the other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was before you'd start at 5 a.m. where it was hot, and by the time you're up at Tonopah, the temperature actually isn't too bad. Like, you're going to be getting to Tonopah like when the temperature starts getting bad, and it's only going to get worse as you start heading farther down south. So I think that there's a little bit of kind of strategy about that. And because it was it was like 95 in kind of the valleys just by Tonopah, and then I was over by up where the Crescent Sand Dunes and stuff were up there. And on the dunes, it actually got to like 101, and I was doing like 4 hours on the bike, and I was kind of trying to ask myself like, hey, if I were racing, and I wasn't racing, I was doing some other stuff. If I were racing, what would I, how long would I want to be on the bike for? And then you start looking at the pit mileages, and it's like probably each pit's about an hour and a half, rough time between them.
Yeah, I mean,
hour and a half.
Yeah, they run 40 to 60 miles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 40 would be an hour.
Yeah.
Probably. And then so there's that. And it was like, would it be wise to kind of switch guys, at every pit? With 3 guys, it's kind of easy. It's pretty easy to do. And I guess it really depends on how everybody's feeling, but then you want to have a plan A, and then also have a plan B, on just like, oh, the heat got to me. Cause, you guys probably not, I didn't want to ride today. It was that hot. I rode last night.
Yes. So, I mean, we talked about that. So what we were thinking about doing is, knowing that we're going from the cooler weather to the hotter weather, we thought we'd run 2 section each. We're going to put Mike on Como, because he's the most technical rider we have, right? And have him run out to Top Gun. And then either Bill or myself get on at Top Gun, go out to Gabs. And then, either Bill or myself, the other guy, would run from Gabs down to wherever that is, Minor, then 2 stops down. So we do 2-2-2 and then 1-1-1 for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, because the especially in the morning, it's cooler. You're not tired, and then I would say as you get down toward the end, start thinking about switching a little bit more, because it's going to be miserable. The last, from basically Tonopah south.
Yeah,
you got one little pass to go over, and if it's 110. Which it will likely be. What we can hope for is thunder showers.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, and Dean and I have talked about it. We've kind of shared with Mike at the end of the race, when you're coming down from Tonopah towards Vegas, you are absolutely right. It could be 105. And we're going to have to stay hydrated. We're going to have to make sure that nobody hits the wall, nobody gets in trouble. We're going to have to, keep yourself in the air conditioning truck before you get on the bike. Make sure your jersey's all wetted down, take off. And I think the last probably 2 hours or so is going to be survival on who can just stay on it and not get burned out based on just the heat, which we've never faced before. Dean, you and I, we've always, as we come into Reno or Dayton, it's still pretty cool. But this one's totally different. So we're counting on that. We're, as you said, and I love what you said, the 6 Ps, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Plan for it, try to be ahead of it, make sure we're not behind the 8 ball, because once you get behind the 8 ball, you're probably toast.
Yeah, and for sure. I think I mean, and then you'll know how everything's going, and it's like it'll progressively get worse. Yeah. and then so the other thing that's the other strategy thing, the thing to think about is dust, because in the morning it's usually really bad, and then in the as everything starts spreading out, and I'm pretty sure that they start the quads in front of you, correct?
No, I hope not.
I'm pretty sure they do. I think that
sometimes they're mixed together. I mean, I've seen them.
Yeah, they're in there pretty close. But some of those guys haul ass. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not going to have to worry about them, because they're usually like 5th, 6th, 7th overall. Some of those guys, but then it's just some of the sportsman ones and stuff kind of get in there and but anyways, just kind of back to this whole dust thing. That is the hardest thing, I think, to manage. And because you're racing and you want to go, but if you can't see, again, everything I'm talking about is like, you want to be able to see what you're hitting, see what's ahead of you. And in the dust, it's kind of a pain in the ass. But that's where like those bike changes and the rider changes and the bike fueling and stuff, that's where that could really help out if that's super, if that's efficient.
That's a good strategy, because 2 years ago, Dean, remember that? I'm chasing a guy. I'm eating his dust. I can't see the trail. I come into the pits, and Dean and I were changing up, and I said, get out of here as fast as you can to get in front of that guy. And he did. And then he had a clean run.
Yeah.
If you're behind somebody, it's tough.
Yeah, I raced it one year where I did it with a friend on a sportsman team, and every time I get on the bike, he had just got passed by like one of the fast quads, and I just have to ride in the dust. And I'd finally get a place where he'd blow a turn. You know, the guy was hauling ass, but he'd blow a turn, and I was just outside of the dust enough where I could pass him back, and then, you know, give the bike back, and then comes in the quad's in front of us again. Oh God. But yeah, because it was, I mean, just down those roads, you know, there's nothing you can do. You just got to sit back and kind of let it clear. I don't think anybody has any X-ray vision to see through that stuff. And
we do not.
And that's managing. And that's where you just kind of go, hey, the job is to get the bike to the finish first. And then, because if your competitors are out there taking risks, well, you know, that's where they're going to, you know, you may not beat them on the trail at the speed that time, but when they're not moving. And from what I see with anytime I watch like amateur efforts and amateur teams, I see so many mistakes in the, you know, like just in the pits, the way they come into the pits, they haul ass, skid in the pits. It's a panic. There's not a procedure. It's not like, you know, the rider doesn't come off and step off to the side and, you know, somebody hits it with the dump can. And I got to find out whether you guys I'm pretty sure you're going to have a dry brake. So yeah, we
need to find dry brake cans then, guys. Do you have one?
I think Johnny would probably have some someplace. I'll definitely check on that. I mean, I know there's some around. I don't know if I have. I don't know. I don't know if I have any, but there's probably some around. And so because they're you know, they're used to doing lots of pits, and like now you guys are going to be kind of doing your own pit. I think we're going to take care of you at the Rawhide pit, the remote one.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think we'll have somebody out there that'll have a spare set of tires and gas, because once those guys go out there, they're stuck out there.
Right.
So they're out there for the whole thing. And then, but I think, you know, he'll probably make sure you have a spare set of wheels.
That's good.
And whatever you need. I think it's going to be pretty turnkey. And then that's, you know, we'll kind of, you know, that's kind of it'd be a cool aspect. It's like, hey, what's our spare parts list, and what's the plan for, you know, doing filters and or these different kinds of things. But I'll leave that to somebody that knows better. So we have a question. Let's see. A Riders Oregon 4474 says, a lot of us couldn't afford to race when we were young. Now I can in the old guy class. He smiles. That's good. And then Casey McCoy says, just joining the conversation and hearing rocks. I was climbing steep rocky trail with ruts, lots of loose and wet. What is the correct gearing and tire combo? So I know Casey, and I think Casey just expects that I know what bike he's riding, but he didn't tell me, and I can't remember. And gearing and tire combo, I don't know. And how much of a difference would it make with, I mean, because Casey could be on his adventure bike, or he could be on his dirt bike or whatever. So more information necessary. So if you're wondering, if you're listening to this show right now, this is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I am with Dean Taylor, Mike, and Bill Dougherty. They are going to be riding a JCR Honda CR 450X in the Vegas to Reno reverse, backwards, whatever they're calling it. Upside down, the other way, Vegas to Reno, the other way, in a few weeks here. And we're just kind of going over some different ideas on strategy, how to kind of think about this stuff, how to do the proper preparation. So if you have questions about this stuff, they have Old Pros Racing as a YouTube channel, and they've done a couple prep videos. And so now I wanted to get into, I saw video 2. You had your competition training you guys, and the takeaway, he was talking about just kind of going around turns and all this stuff. And as a former teacher of motorcycle skills, riding techniques, stuff like this, I had very fundamental disagreements with everything he was telling you, and I kind of didn't understand some of it. So maybe we can kind of paraphrase. He was kind of saying to go in fast, but then come out slower.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there going, that's a lot of information for a lot of things that are going on. And when I taught, I tried to keep it really simple and break it down into very easy techniques. So the way that I teach and what I've learned is a motorcycle that only does 4 things. It can accelerate, it can decelerate, you can initiate a turn, which is knocking the bike out of balance to cause it to turn. And then once you do that, you can control a turn. Does everybody do we have an agreement on any of those things? We accelerate, decelerate, initiate, control, start over. Accelerate, decelerate, initiate, control, accelerate. So I break it down into those things. And I know some people like to talk like corner entry, mid-turn, exit, and all that. It's getting a little bit too confusing. So ideally, it's a very idealized way of thinking about it, but then everybody learns different and they break things down differently. So I want to be the best at accelerating, which means I need to be in balance and I need to have all my weight on my rear tire. So my front tire is like, I want to say like 2 millimeters off the ground. So it's not causing any friction. And I'm accelerating with all my traction, giving it just enough power so that it's not spinning, but it's just carrying that wheel off the ground. Perfect acceleration, right? And then when I see I've got to do something, if I have to slow down for a bump or whatever, then I'm going to do deceleration. I have to slow down for a turn. But let's just say I'm going straight and need to slow down for a bump. At that point, I would want to go from being that wide open to being under full braking, slowing down just enough so that my suspension or whatever kind of absorbs it. And then the minute that I'm through that obstacle, I'm back on 100%. If it were a turn, for instance, I would want to slow down to the point where I would initiate the turn. And at that point, I'm done accelerating or decelerating. So I've slowed down to the exact speed that I initiate the turn, which takes a millisecond. You initiate the turn, and then you're going around this turn at the point where you're not making corrections. You're in perfect balance at this point, and you're going to do nothing but go around that turn at a speed that's perfect, because if you're going any faster, you would lose traction. And if you're going any slower, you would fall over. In other words, reinitiate or alter the turn. Very idealized world I'm talking about here.
Yeah. So that was Jeff. He was talking to me when I did that, right? And of course I politely listened. And Jeff's a friend, and certainly he's got a good resume. But like I said in the video, as I approached that turn, I was standing up and I was going as fast as I could go down in the lead up to it, and then hitting the brakes so I could slow down to make the turn. Otherwise, I'm going to overshoot the turn. Yeah. And then as soon as I got the bike pointed in the right direction and I was back in balance, I flipped the throttle wide open again. Right. And that's what I did.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah. And so anyway, so you're going around this turn, and the thing is with off-road racing, it's not like a track or anything like that where you know exactly where you're going. You don't really know what the radius of the turn is. The traction may change. You could hit some. The traction is different. So this is all just, I'm talking about a very idealized thing. You go around that turn to the point where it's ready to come back on, and you come back on. And when I say you go wide open, you want to go wide open, but maybe you don't have the traction for it. But whenever I'm talking with racers that want to go faster and want to have more success, they're all wanting to know, how do I ride faster on the turn? I go, that's there's so much going on there. Let's work on something that's really easy. Let's work on the brakes. Let's work on slowing down. So if I were going to, with the amount of time we have leading up to the race, I would go out and spend a lot of time riding on fast roads and really working on my braking. I would just start doing like braking drills to where you're just kind of going on a road and make sure nobody's behind you and
that would be
do some
Bill.
braking drills. Really start, learning. And the way I teach brakes is 100% of your braking power is in the front brake. The front brake is all your stopping, because if you're doing it right, guess where your rear wheel is?
In the air.
In the air, correct. So you want to find it. The trick with the dirt bike, and this is just like in road racing and stuff like that, you don't stab it. You want to settle the tire down. And if you're in the least bit out of balance when you're doing that, you're not going to be able to brake as effectively because the bike wants to turn and it's going to put strange things. So I think about doing all my braking in straight lines.
Yeah.
If I am braking into a turn, it's already too late. I've already made a mistake. I want to do my braking before the turn so I can be off the brakes and then going the ultimate speed around the turn. And the only way you can get there is like really learning what your brakes are. And trust me, you're never going to be perfect at it. And you're probably, especially since you guys have ridden at high levels before, you're never going to ever feel like you're really that good at it at all because you go, because there's so many variables about. If you got to do the turn 100 times, you'd get really good at that one turn. But on off-road racing, there's never that. And so it's like, where is this? You want to build in this safety, but the better you are at the brakes, the more comfortable you are getting on the brakes. Then when I tell people, okay, now go and race at 80% or race at 90%, because you don't want to go 100 because you need to have that safety factor built in.
You just don't know what's coming.
You don't know what's coming. So you can't go 100%. You can go, let's just say 85%. But if you're riding at 85%, every turn you're going to go, I could have gone around that faster. I could have gone around that faster. And that's a really bad sensation to have if you're racing. But if you get better on your brakes and you're doing that all the time, as opposed to going, oh shit, oh crap, okay. And then, because that only lasts for so long before it's boom.
Yeah.
And you are no longer in the race.
Yeah.
What you said too, Jimmy, I mean, you got to stay in your comfort zone. I mean, Dean's 69, I'm almost 68. Mike, you're 64. If we were out there pushing it 100, 110% through this race, Vegas to Reno, we'd probably be wadded up on a rock. But if you can do 90 to 95 and be smooth and consistent, always be moving forward and don't lose a lot of momentum, then that's what we've been doing the last 2 or 3 years, right, Dean? We try to pay attention to it and not hang it out. I mean, at our age, none of us want to ragdoll and get busted up and have life flight come in. So you're riding at 90, 95, smooth, fast, and trying to pay attention, as you said, Jimmy. And that, with a long race like this, over 500 miles, that's, I think, what really pays off in the end for the winner is just consistency. Also, like what you said about pits, we have a plan. We talk about it. How do we do an exchange? What do we do in exchange so that we don't waste a lot of time and we're communicating and we're talking about it, and then the guy takes off and then he's on his run.
Yeah, I mean, to do a little practice, just like practice some of that stuff. But if I were riding specifically, and then especially when you get a chance to hop on the bike, because the brake feel is going to be a little bit different, the Honda from the KTMs and stuff like that, the way that they, just the way that they act under braking, get some time to go out and kind of practice those kind of things. That's what I would focus on, is just, braking and slowing down. And then when you get really good at that, then I work on acceleration. That's my kind of next, go-to thing, is I start working on just really, and the trick is being patient with your acceleration. So you're going to get through that turn thing. The idea is you just want to survive the turn. And who taught me this is Bob Hanna, of all people.
Bob says you're on the gas or you're on the brake. There is no in between.
I 100%. I'm not going to steal this from. Yeah. And look at my shirt. I ripped off his logo. I'm not going to rip off his riding techniques. Right. He talked about the pie-shaped section of the turn. That's where everybody crashes. That's where everybody has their problems, is in this pie-shaped section of the turn, the turning part. You want to be, his thing was 110% in and 110% out, 80% around the turn. And then you have a much more effective racing, program for this. Just that you've set yourself up for practicing like this and thinking like this. So it's the same way with. So it's not just turns, it's like dangerous things and stuff like that. You want to be 110% on the gas, 110% on the brakes. You can't be 110%. That's like saying that there's luck. But you want to be maximum, smooth, maximum, control what you can control. And so the acceleration part, most guys that I watch get on the gas too hard, too early. And not only does that hard on your tires, especially in off-road racing, if you get on too early, you have to do a correction and you have to back off. And every time you back off, that's time I'm making up on you. And when I'm racing off-road, I'm actually looking at the tracks on the ground in front of me. And every time I see that guy in front of me and his back tire had stepped out and stuff like that, I go, that's a little bit of time. That's a little bit of time. Or when I see the skid go off the road, off the turn, oh, that's some time. And so I could sit there and, factor in the time that I was making up by being a little bit patient and knowing that when I got on the gas, I'm going as fast, if not faster than that guy, kind of, so it's not the stuff that I got to be aggressive. I got to push and all stuff like that. I want to be riding at like 80%. No, I'm making up time on you. And then if I have to, if it comes to the point where we're getting close to the end of the race, then I start thinking about, okay, now maybe it's time to push a little bit. And luckily I've been taking it easy, for the beginning part of the race. I have the energy and the mental thing to know what pushing is. I wasn't just going hell bent the whole time. And I try to, with the guys that I work with, I try to get them to think like that, so that when they practice, they're practicing stuff that really works towards a more efficient race kind of program, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's my suggestion.
It does, Jimmy, and I'll try and edit Bill in that. I mean, 95%, forget it. We're talking 80-85%.
Yeah, I like the 80s.
Yeah.
For off-road racing, if it was moto, I would push it more into like 90. And it's one of those things where this is where you kind of practice, and I always say your size. You kind of know what you're capable of, and then you decide, hey, I'm gonna now I know where I'm comfortable at. Now I'm going to practice a little bit outside of my comfort level.
Yeah.
I don't ever do that in the race, especially, now when I go race, I don't, because you can't help it. You're going to do it sometimes, but I don't ever want to go there. But I definitely want to know what it feels like, so I can warn myself, like, hey, you're taking chances, you dumbass. Because I don't get to pick anymore. Like some days, like I can ride like magic, and then my brain isn't as fast as the rest of the stuff. Or another day where I just don't have any feel for the bike. It's like, where did that go?
Every day is different. Every day is a gift.
Yeah. So, anyways, those are my hot takes on what could help you guys have a really successful race. And those are the kind of things that when I was racing professionally and when I had, really big opportunities to do cool stuff, it was like, I didn't want to screw it up, but I also wanted to make sure I brought my A game. And so I could be confident about what I'm doing and, making everybody that, around happy.
Well, that's for sure what we're going to go work on. As a matter of fact, I think it's great content for our next video. Is we'll go out and we'll work on that. And show everybody what we're trying to do, thanks to the advice you're giving us.
Yeah,
and we're not going to be riding a twin cylinder BMW Dakar thing.
Or a Yamaha WR125. By the way, this podcast brought to you by Yamaha, and I've been spending a lot of time on a Yamaha WR125 lately. And you know what I work on that? Holding it wide open all the time, rifling through the gears at the perfect shift points, learning how effective the brakes are. And it's funny, it's no different than if I were racing a high speed bike, but when I'm riding something that's that slow and that tiny, you really get to, I mean, on that bike, I can feel when I'm riding on soft dirt versus hard dirt. You know, you can hear the motor start bogging down as you got to be like 2-inch perfect to stay on the hardest part of the track. Yeah. So, or then I could ride my Tenere. That's my other favorite bike. I'll be up in your neck of the woods here riding my Tenere at the Yamaha Tenere Trek.
Oh, with Damon Bradshaw, yeah.
The beast from the East. Yeah, I'm doing some schools. I'm doing some rider training schools up there. So teach you some off-road skills. So if you have a Tenere, you want to join into that, sign up, send me an email. I can get you a link and stuff. And if you buy a Tenere in the next 2 weeks, I will get you an entry to that event. I said it out loud. I'll get you an entry and I'll get you in my class. You just got to buy a Tenere between now and then. Send me an email with your receipt. So,
Jimmy, speaking of Yamaha 125, I just got back from Millville helping out with the National every year. So I watched in the amateur events, I watched Jeremy, who's of course retired, riding a YZ 125 against all the 4-strokes. And he's not lapping them. And in fact, a couple young kids gave him a couple good races, but you can just as you were explaining, hitting soft dirt, hitting traction. He's on this 125 and he's of course just pinned and trying to extract everything he can out of it. And you can see the 4-stroke pull them when they're fresh. You can see the 4-stroke guys pull them everywhere, but he's an animal.
Yeah.
He ends up catching him and passing him mostly on the downhills.
Yeah, I attribute a lot of my success in the off-road racing for spending a lot of time on a 125 because, you know, back then the suspension was so horrible compared to what it is now. You could ride a 125 really fast through the bumps and I was riding it at 10/10. You know, it wouldn't go any faster. And so I had to, you know, do things to make that bike work better. I had to learn how to like manual bumps to keep that tire on the ground so it was driving. You know, I had to learn how to, you know, not ride into the deeper sand, not bury it into turns. And it's this, all these techniques pay dividends. And if you go straight to a big, fast, really, the bike that's making up for what you're lacking as a rider. And so I'm always a big proponent of ride something that you can work on you know, in getting the maximum out of that bike. So when you move up and it gives you more performance, you can use it as opposed to having the bike's performance kind of mask what you got going on there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, let's see. I'm getting messages from people that are watching the show. So I wonder what went wrong.
Oh.
Let's see. I'm not seeing any questions. Well, Dave, I saw your question on the thing here. He says, just answer my question about bikes and riders. How old are you guys? Oh, we should probably because, you know, some people join the show late. So, I think you guys just mentioned it. Go ahead one more time.
I'm Dean. I'm 69.
I'm Bill. I'm almost 50 or 68.
And
almost 50.
Almost 68.
And I'm Mike, and I'm 64.
Yeah. And do you guys use an ice vest or something?
No.
You know, we don't have one, but I know, Dean, you and I in the last couple of Vegas races, and I've seen guys do it, will kind of take your jersey, stay in the shade, put water on yourself to keep your core body temperature down, and then as you take off within 5 minutes, you know, it's dried out, but you're keeping your core down. And if we do 50 miles at the end, you know, leapfrogging, we shouldn't get too burned out.
Yeah. I have not used a riding ice vest and stuff. And I don't think you would want it because just the weight and the, you know, I wouldn't want to crash in one. That would be sure. But anyways, Mikey Burton says, I need more rider training. Mikey is a friend of mine from town here that helps with our town mini bike track. He's the tractor operator that builds all the jumps and stuff. I saw him out at Sandy Valley. He's lucky I didn't roost him with the WR 125. I was actually riding a JCR Honda bike I rode a WR125 all the way over to Sandy Valley because some of the guys were out there, and I hopped on one of the JCR bikes and rode it around. So I'm kind of like you guys. I borrowed a bike from them, ripped it around the track a little bit, and I didn't even have to wash it when I was done.
Yeah.
So we're still pulling factory rider stuff. Hey, we have a segment on the show called Rooster Endo. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh, I am.
Heard this before? Sure. Yeah. Okay. So this is the part of the show. This is brought to you by Tacomoto. That's tacomoto.co. I'd love it if you guys would stick on and help me comment on these particular bikes. So the way that this works is you send in a picture of your bike. See, up on the screen behind me, let's see, I got to go to the widescreen. You can barely see it up in the back now. Up maybe on the no, you can't see it. It's clipped out. But we used to actually print them out, and you'd send us a picture of your bike. You tell us a little bit about your bike, but you have to tell me your make and model, because I'm not that good where I can pick out every individual year. So I need your make and model, and you need to, unlike one of our contestants, you need to put in there Rooster Endo, because I can't find it otherwise, because I get a lot of emails, junk emails mostly. But if you don't put Rooster Endo in the subject, that's how you enter this contest. You can win a $100 gift certificate from Tacomoto, because they have lots of stuff, and $100 will just get you down the avenue to start spending a lot of money on motorcycle performance products. And they're really knowledgeable, and they'll help you out if you need that. So they are bringing you Rooster Endo, brought to you by Tacomoto. I'm going to show the first bike up here. This is the first bike, and this is our guy, and I got to get my document out here so I can see what it is. This is from Lou. And Lou, I got to make sure it's Lou. No, Paul. No, wait. No, it's a different guy. I think it's Lou.
Looks like a KDX.
Well, you would be wrong, but that's why in the thing you have to tell me it was a 1995 Yamaha. Oh, see, he didn't say Yamaha. See, he messed up already. He messed up twice because he also didn't put Rooster Endo in the comment. So I almost didn't find this. I should have thrown it away, but he's got a good story. 1995 Yamaha YZ250. From $500 basket case to a great play bike for anywhere we head to ride. I read them like they say them. So background, the 1995 YZ50 was built with an Army helicopter pilot friend as a moment to help clear his head. It is simply a feel-good, no-profit moment of interacting with fellow dirt people. So we like to say people from Pahrump, we are the valley of the dirt people. So this is, no, that's not the right one. I got to figure out how to make this thing go away. That's the finished bike.
Okay.
That's the finished bike. Oh, okay. So these two go side by side. The finished bike is right here. No, here, wait, here. Remember, I'm a professional. There it is. His pictures were so small that those graphics, they aren't just pixelated. They're pixelated. I mean, like that, you can see the quality, the amazing quality of this photo. So sending a good picture. And since I do have a background in journalism, I do appreciate a good angle. And let me keep reading here. Everything was touched on this bike. IWC did the braced radiators with Duval protection. San Diego Powder Coat handled the frame. Race Tech handled the suspension, Pro Taper bars. It's a 2006 YZ carb substituted in fit. That's probably a good move. Carburetors actually came a long ways since from 95 to 2006. Pro Circuit expansion chamber with FMF silencer. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. The pipe humans do not always have the older stuff in stock. So is that like wearing like a Thor jersey with JT pants or something like that? I don't know. I mean, who am I to judge? But that's what I do here. And feel free to chime in if you want to. Warp 9 wheels and hubs. All new nuts, bolts, bearings, etc. in every part of the bike. Lots of OEM Yamaha parts and Pro X. We do all labor and all the purchasing of parts. It was an $8,000 labor of love to get this 1995 YZ250. He said Yamaha, he's told me there, to rip again. It gets used and then cleaned, sees Paulavet, Cahuilla Desert, Lone Pine, Corral Canyon. It's Yamalube at 32-1. I enjoy your insights and efforts on the podcast. This is where people always try to throw in that little nudge at the end to try to throw it over the top. And he says a side note for you. So this is why, in all honesty, this is why I didn't just throw the entry out. He says, this build was initiated after we lost a close friend, Jacob, who has an Army Purple Heart ward. We have gone on to build many a bike for military friends and their families to provide throttle therapy. And then he also did a rebuild of Carlin Dunn's Honda 450 and presented it back to his dad after Carlin had passed, and his dad posted on the Facebook page. So, yeah, awesome job, Lou. Your photo endos. Because you got to send me more than a thumbnail to work with. Although the graphics, being in the military, maybe he knows a lot about camouflage and stuff like that. He's trying to hide something. But I find, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, when you take a handlebar and turn it away in a picture, that's like disrespectful. That's like when your cat turns around and shows you its butt, that means it loves you. But I don't think that's the same with a motorcycle.
I would agree.
Yeah. Dean, you remember what a pain in the ass getting photos of bikes was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we never shot them with the handlebars turned away.
Yeah.
Unless I was flying over them, right, at that point in time and do her snap the right picture.
Yeah, yeah. Well, an action photo for sure, but
Yeah.
like there's something about it's like doing a picture and holding up your armpit. When you see that handlebar up there like that, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
you look at the bike, he's got some nice gold hubs in that thing. The color, it's the purple frame. I don't know if it's blue or purple. Who knows what the colors are on this sort of thing, but yeah, good on you for getting a good bike. I don't really recall the 95 as being anything, and Mike might remember Yamaswap.
Yes, I do. And the 95. So my twin brother had a 95. I was a Yamaha dealer back in 96.
Okay.
And I had a 96 250, and my twin brother had a 95 250. And I had probably one of your buddies paid him $500 to port and polish and make it outstanding. And then I got on my twin brother's stock 95, and it was freaking 99% as good.
Huh.
So it was a good bike. So
yeah,
roost on the bike, endo on the picture.
Roost on the bike, end on the picture. I'm there. Roost on the bike, the cause. I think that's awesome. Is I've always said getting people on dirt bikes is awesome therapy no matter what. I mean, it still works for me, and I got a lot of problems. So yeah, roost on this one, Lou. So awesome. Okay. So up our next, let's see, our next one. Where's our next one? I got to push some buttons here to make this thing work, and find there we go. Okay. So Rooster Endo submission number 2, brought to you by Taco Moto. We're going to slowly reveal this bike. There we go. This is a Paul's 2024 Kawasaki KX450. Precision steering damper, FMF silencer, Chirby skid plate and chain guide, Enduro Engineering perch mounted handguards, twin airbox kit, dingoes, fork guards. What are those? Oh, those are those wraparounds up on the top, yeah?
Oh.
NV2 suspension setup for GP with the small stock tank. We'll get a larger one for longer races. Pirelli front tire, Dunlop rear. Okay, that's kind of like wearing two different brands of gear, but that's okay. Although I think if you really appreciate the feel of certain things, you can mix and match tires. RK MXU X-ring chain gripper seat cover. Q on the number is for the over 60 class. He's a competitor.
All right.
This is Paul's KX450. What do you old guys have to say about this one?
Looks good to
I just
me.
made it go off the screen so we could see you.
If it-
I actually like the where did my screen go? I lost it. Here we go. I know how to work this program. I kind of like the all green, the simple, we'll call it the simple green. KX450, generally a good bike. I think, yeah, overall, I mean, he's even got the green mud flap in the back. He didn't talk about his plastic. Oh no, Chirby's skid plate and chain guard. Those are good, by the way. Actually the skid plates and the chain guards for plastic stuff is really good.
Yeah, I learned listening to you. I got to get rid of my my aluminum skid plate on my 18 450. So,
well, it depends. So I'm for sure a plastic skid plate guy, but I also I like to not smash the shit out of my stuff. But if I were doing like extreme enduro and, if I was one of those guys that was smashing a lot of my stuff, I would be a lot more interested in an aluminum skid plate. But for me, it's the biggest problem is, well, two. One, I don't like the noise because they tend to resonate, and I'm always listening to my bikes, and it seems like the skid plate makes everything seem worse. Number two is on certain bikes, they affect the handling in generally a bad way. So it kind of depends on how it's clamped and things like that. Some people like it. Some people like the rigidity that they bring. I tend to find that it goes away from maybe you can have a guy that doesn't know how you ride valve your suspension. You can put a skid plate on it. It works like magic. So,
yeah, well, I tend to be a bit of a cheap guy. So I want to protect that case. So,
well,
right.
Dean, now it telling me this, when I pass you, it's all because your skid plate.
Okay.
Wind up. I love the Excusatron. Excusatron's a great thing to wind up and use when necessary, because it's never the rider. It's always something to do with the bike.
Well, sure.
But yeah, I
give
think
the bike a roost.
Okay. So number one, it's not a picture in his garage. It's not in the back of his truck. The handlebar isn't turned away. There's no harsh shadows in this photo. It was the right size. I mean, look, I can actually take this photo and
zoom
like
in.
blow it up, and it doesn't even go. I mean, yeah. So there's some flare up on the number plate and stuff like that. But I can check his bike out and see, what he's got going there. Well, he's got a Rockstar logo on there. What is this? Let's see here. See, when you send me a real photo, we can get in there and analyze.
Well,
So-
it's simple, Jimmy. It's a roost because he's over 60. Come on.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm feeling good tonight. I'll go with roost on this one as well.
It's a roost.
Yep. That's definitely a roost. Okay. So that's it. Now, the other thing is we don't like to play favorites on this show. And sometimes this segment has been called Roost or Endo or For Sale. I don't know what this is, because it was a re-roost or something like that, or a re-submission or something. This comes from Robert Natista, who is the Fuck You Racing San Diego chapter leader, I guess, is what he is. And this bike here is a 1999 Husqvarna TE610. Anybody ridden one of those?
No,
You haven't?
never.
Yeah, they vibrate.
Oh.
This one has an aluminum skid plate on it too. But back then we didn't know how to bend plastic that well. So this is here's his full entry: Rooster Endo REBNG, which I think he might have submitted it before, but now it has bold new graphics. This bike has a Arnaldo Nicoli vibe, and he's definitely sending this in because last week Jerry and I definitely talked about our Incas Rally Peru experience, and this looks exactly like the bike that Arnaldo rode, except Arnaldo rode a 350 down there. So this is the bigger, more vibrator one. I I have a personal attachment to this bike because this and just before it, these were so horrible, these bikes, mostly because they wouldn't start very well. This one started better than the earlier ones. I was doing stuff with like Dirt Bike Magazine at the time, and I would do anything to have them, give me a test bike that I could ride. And I'd never get the good ones, like the good motocross bikes. Forget it. No way. It's not going to happen. But these Huskies, they would let them slide through the cracks, and I would ride, and I loved a big 4-stroke. I mean, because I was, I had an XR 250 at the time and a YZ 125. So getting one of these things, I felt special. And so, yeah, spent some quality hours on these suckers. This had this interesting frame where the main frame is a big round tube that goes from the swing arm pivot.
Single down tube, yeah.
It's a single down tube where there's, even on the outside of the swing arm, you see where the pipe and the shock is. I think he actually sent me a photo that I can play with. His photo size is big too. We like to talk about,
Yeah, it's a single backbone actually.
Yeah. It was a single round, like literally tube that went up there. And I can tell you a real interesting story about I can tell you a real interesting story about some bike development. So this was when Husaberg was just kind of coming around, and doing stuff. Husaberg had definitely a more conventional, at least the back part of the frame. Husaberg had this big giant, rectangular section that was the airbox also that came off the frame. But then when it kind of broke down, it had the frame spars that went to the outside of the swing arm for the pivot. So the swing arm was able to kind of flex this box that held the center of the swing arm and the engine. It was all kind of tied into one thing, which definitely worked for some guys, because some guys won some world enduro championships. I think Jackie Martins won a world motocross championship on a bike like this. Does anybody remember that? Yeah. So, this bike roosts. The photo is getting close to endo. Backlit, kind of you're looking down on the motorcycle. You're being a little disrespectful to it. It was definitely rolled right out of his shop. And you could see where he's either all of his bikes have bad batteries and they leak acid all over his driveway or something, or that's where he's cleaning all the parts. It's kind of like that line of grass is bothering me too. So does the shadow across the back. Got some problems. What do you guys think?
It's a Husky. Enough said.
Oh, wait, what does that mean? Roost or endo?
Well, for that era, heck yeah, roost for the bike.
That's Italian. That's not Swedish. That's Italian Husky there.
Look how he roosted the back tire. He's obviously on the gas on that 600.
Yeah, 610. Hey, this motor is still kind of it's been evolved, but it's still kind of around. It's in the like the SMWs and the AJPs and stuff. They're using a motor that's really still derived from this particular package.
You mean the SWM?
Yeah.
SWM.
That's what he means.
Yeah. So we had one of those a few years back that they loaned us to race Vegas to Reno. It was the COVID year, and
okay,
it was a nice bike. It was heavy. I don't know if you know Tanner Janeski, Larry's son.
No.
Yeah, you know who Larry is, right? From all his movies and stuff.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Tanner rode SWM 500 in Vegas to Reno, probably 22, and I had one just like it. I ended up riding my own bike that year, but and it didn't quite make it. But I mean, Bill, you rode it. I mean, it was a pretty good bike.
It was a heavy bike, had a lot of power. If I remember, Dean, it was more about the wheels crushing.
Yeah, we had
Rocco and the wheels when we're hitting high speed stuff. So that was a downfall of what they put on it.
Yeah. So
were they stock, the wheels?
Yeah. So it was COVID year. So when we tacoed the stock rims, right, and Mark knew that they weren't any good, or they were Chinese rims. I shouldn't say they weren't any good, because I appreciate him loaning me the bike, but then we couldn't get replacement rims because of the COVID year.
Oh, through them, or just from them, or from anybody?
From anybody.
Yeah.
We finally ended up getting wheels or rims after the race, and it was who's the big guy? I'm showing my age. Who does the wheels these days? Everybody buys their W. Is it W?
Yeah, W wheels.
Yeah, we ended up with rims from them, but it wasn't until after Vegas to Reno for us. But it was that motor was great.
Yeah. Like a lot of these are, they're knockoffs, we'll call it. The Chinese will take an existing motor and they'll bring it over there and they'll just remanufacture. They'll just, and whether they actually get the tooling, they buy the tooling or they create their own tooling to do this stuff. They have they've been building motors that last a long time. It's not the same materials. It's generally heavier, and you're going to find some, wonky things. Like they just go buy a transmission set that fits inside there. And what are the gear ratios? They don't care. It has a gear ratio.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the same thing, like a lot of times with the wheels, it's just like, I know a guy that makes a rim, and I know a guy that used to make refrigerators, but now he makes spokes. And the guy at this factory, well, he can put those two things together with this thing called a hub that we got at the tractor shop. And that's how, it's crazy how they do that stuff, but they're getting way better at it because there's more and more people that are, they've copied so much stuff. And now there's, with the metallurgy, they're better at it with the software that analyzes where things would break. They know how to beef stuff up. And so, yeah, some of those bikes are pretty crazy. Okay. So back to Roosterendo. What do we think of Robert's bike?
Oh, I'll give it a roost.
Okay. Well,
That's
so we're just roosting
for me.
Endo for you.
Yeah, it's an endo for me. Husky, heavy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna give it a roost just because there's a lot of sentimental value with this thing, and fact that looks like Arnaldo's bike when we won the Incas Rally. It was a team race back then. Yeah, that's a nice roost. So I was being really nice tonight. It was a lot of roost. If you're in the chat, if you're people in the chat, remember you are allowed to chime in and help influence our decision on Roosterendo, because somebody's going to walk away with $100 gift certificate. And I'm not just giving it to this guy because he's in the Fuck You Club with me and he is the San Diego chapter, and we have traded stickers. I have his sticker someplace it might be is it up on the wall? I could look. Is it in the studio someplace up over there? Because I tend to collect some of the kind of the cool stuff. But anyways, okay. So help us out with the Roosterendo. Somebody said the chat messages weren't working, but I can see them working. So you guys are lying, and we'll kind of keep moving on with the rest of the show. I in all honesty, I like the guy that did the full rebuild, had no shame in admitting that it cost him $8,000 to build a $2,000 bike. Cody says YZ250 for the roost. $8,000, and I'm pretty sure that included the time as well. Yeah, $8,000 labor of love, and I think it's $8,000 labor and then of love to get this YZ250 Yamaha to rip again. Yeah, and I think everything about that story, like I'm leaning towards that, but Dave Donnelly says roost for the Husky, but Dave has also in his past bought a Husaberg, so something's completely wrong with him. I don't know. I'm speaking from experience. How many Husabergs do you guys own?
I thought, Jimmy, that you love that Husaberg 570.
Oh, you obviously don't listen to the podcast, because if I say Husaberg, I have to ring a bell.
Oh,
It's like a trigger mechanism.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Are you finding?
Yeah, I just made a sound effect that you probably didn't.
Finding your bell. You're looking for your bell.
Yeah, I have three of those Husaberg 570s currently.
Yeah.
I rode one. That's what I rode last night. I rode a Husaberg 570 last night because I have a really good Baja Designs light on it. It's been a little while since I rode it, so I needed to run a little bit of gas through it. And has anybody ever told you how much power one of those things make?
No.
Like just when you roll, I mean, you want to talk about a motor. Like when you roll that thing on for a 4-stroke single that doesn't weigh that much, just the amount of power and the airbox is like, it's right between your nuts. And so not only does it sound good and bark at you, kind of like a Yamaha, sponsor of this show, but it pulls like nobody's business. And the amazing thing is that's the same engine kind of in a weird configuration, 70-degree, called it the 70-degree motor, as the KTM 530, which was a horrible bike at the time. And it just took those Husaberg engineers to take something. They designed the fuel injection for KTM, by the way, for them to, turn that thing into such an amazing platform but if you ever have to work on one, you want to kill yourself. Or just light the bike on fire. So they're all hand grenades too. Well, not like the old ones. I have a couple of those too, maybe 3 of them, I guess, like 650s. Those are real hand grenades. So anybody want to buy? Like, actually, if you're trying to sell a Husaberg 570, you're not going to get what you're asking for it. They're horrible. The values are going down because I tell everybody how horrible they are to work on. Can't get parts for them, all the stuff. So, quit do it. But actually, I don't know if I should drive the price up or down because I have so many of them. So, okay. Nobody's ridden Husabergs before.
Never ridden one.
No.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, you have no idea what you're missing out. I mean, if you wanted to just overall Vegas to Reno, you would just ask me to ride my Husaberg 570. That would have been in your proposal straight up, Dean, right from the beginning. You would have said, I think I need to ride one of your Husabergs because it's probably a good 15 miles an hour faster on top end than any other.
Is it a 6-speed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's a 6-speed, all right. Yeah, and it uses the whole range, like top speed. It's a 115 mile per hour dirt bike, easy. You could probably gear it to do more, I think. And I'm not lying. I mean, I exaggerate a lot when I'm talking about these things, but I'm not lying right now.
I was either too dumb to know to ask or too smart to ask. I'm not sure which.
So no, that's okay. It's a long time running joke. But at least Husabergs are blue, because Yamahas are blue. And you want to see it. I don't like to talk about myself that much in this podcast, but there's a picture of me riding an old Husaberg. Look at that from back in the magazine days. This is remember what they called a tear sheet?
Yes, I remember tear sheets
of all the old things. Yeah, it's a tear sheet. But it's a picture of me riding a Husaberg. It affected me. So when I was a kid, when Super Hunky, when Rick Simon would write about Makos
all the time.
I hope that I'm wrecking an entire generation because I still have not ridden a good Mako. I've ridden a couple like really old ones, but they couldn't be ridden hard because they were fragile. But I've not ridden, and I go to some of these vintage motorcycle shows or the Mecum auction and stuff, and there's things I think I need to ride one, but I think I'm going to be bitterly disappointed, like most of the time when I ride vintage stuff. But that was the bike when I was a kid because I went into Cyclops Cycle Parts in Camarillo, California. And I was tall enough to stare straight at those cylinder fins. I could look the cylinder fins right in the eye. So I knew what they looked like. The sand cast cases, the grain on the side of the cases, I would see it. And then when I went to Indian Dunes for like the first time, I heard someone start one of those things up and it just made this noise. And I still, this day, I know the sound of a Mako. And Did you ride Makos?
No, but we have a fantastic vintage event in Boise, Idaho. It's coming up in August because it was delayed. But a couple of years ago, Brock Glover showed up and raced somebody's Mako 490.
Oh, wow.
And of course, with him riding it, it made it look really freaking good. And
that guy is smooth.
Exactly. And it was impressive. Very.
Yeah, cool. So anyways, so I'm hoping to do to the Husaberg for the next generation what Rick did to the Makos, because I think in all honesty they weren't all that great, but they weren't bad. But I will experience it at some point, but I just don't want to wreck the buzz. But like if you ride a Husaberg, I'm telling you how much power that thing has. Like, yeah, amazing. That's the bike that they should have made into the original rally bikes.
Yeah.
Because the engine configuration is designed for that, with the intake where it's at and all that stuff. And then you start looking at, well, look what didn't we go back and forth on Cannondale maps, Mike?
No.
Did you do Cannondale stuff?
No, I was not involved with that. I was with the ATK fuel injection, but not the Cannondale anything.
Not the Cannondale, because the Cannondale came to ATK after you were gone.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because it's funny. You look at the Cannondale, what it tried to be, and then look at a modern YZ49 or YZ450.
You're right.
Engine spun around backwards, no Kickstarter, aluminum frame.
Yeah.
Aluminum chassis. There's all the different things that Cannondale really tried, and like a fuel injection through an app. It was called a BlackBerry back then.
Yeah.
You could adjust the fuel injection with your little. You had to plug it in because Wi-Fi wasn't a thing yet, but you plugged it in. You could instantly change the fuel injection. All this stuff, like they were way ahead of their times. They did it wrong.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's see. Riders Oregon says one of those bikes is mine, but I'm going to remain neutral because I like all of those bikes. Well, and how are you going to affect us if you if you're neutral?
He's keeping us in suspense.
Yeah. Well, you guys got to tell me which one wins. I already told you what I think wins.
The YZ250, no problem.
YZ250. Okay. Mike says YZ250. Bill, what do you got?
He spent a lot of money. I have to say the YZ250 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the story with the YZ250 just put it over the top.
Yeah, it's unanimous. It can't be beat. I don't care what you say in the chat. It's going to the YZ250. So, Lou, I think it's Lou. You got to reach back out to me, and because I forget everything on this show that I do. Reach out to me, remind me that you won, and I will get you hooked up with Takamoto. And whoever won last week, I don't think they reached back out to me, so you better get back out to me so I can get Takamoto those things. So, well, guys, hey, thanks for joining and helping the show. Is there anything else we want to go over before you guys start doing your next practice for Vegas to Reno? What's the YouTube channel again?
Old Pro Racing.
Old Pro Racing. And there's a video on step 1 where you kind of explain what's going on. Step 2, a little bit of the training where obviously your riding coach wants you to crash by going too fast into the turns. Okay, so I honestly believe that anytime you're actually training, like you're receiving instruction from somebody because you're thinking about what you're doing on the motorcycle, I think it's good. Even if the coaching isn't that good, because if you're halfway, don't have blind trust. That's what I'm saying. But if you're halfway decent, at least now you're riding and thinking about your riding.
You're thinking about
riding.
That's the big thing is you're thinking about it.
And you guys have been doing this long enough. So when someone kind of feeds you a line or it just doesn't make sense, you have enough self-preservation to go, I'm not sure about this, but I'm willing to try. And then maybe, and maybe he's trying to get you a little outside of your comfort zone. And like, that's why I kind of went back to I think really what he was trying to say was he was trying to get you to work on your braking by telling you to go faster into the turn. Where I don't even want to confuse you with the turn. I want to say work on your braking. So when we talk about doing this, when you're out there doing these braking drills, you're going to be going and you're going to say, I'm going to get the bike slowed down to whatever speed I decide that I want to slow it down to by this point. So let's say you're going 60 miles an hour and you see some like a little roller or rise. I want to be going like 15 when I go over to that. Not 20, not 25, definitely not 40. So you kind of come and do it and you go, no, I was going like 5. I was going too slow. I had to let off before I even got there. Or maybe you do go flying off of it. You go flying off it at 40 as opposed to 15 like you wanted to do. So you actually are just, and then go do it again. Repeat the same thing so you can practice on one thing that's repeatable and you get a feel for it. And what I always tell people is and most people will, I say you going 15, or maybe you're going to come to a complete stop. You just pick something. I'm going to slow that bike down and I'm going to stop. Imagine it's a cliff. You're riding up to the edge of the cliff, and I want you to stop right at the edge of the cliff. I don't want you to stop 2 feet before or 5 feet, and you can't go over the cliff because then you're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to get right there. Well, I'm not really going to complain if you're 5 feet or 10 feet or 20 feet back. Okay. I'm saying you're better than you think you are. We can work on this. But if you ride off the cliff 2 or 3 times while you're practicing, I'm worried about you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe when you bring the bike up, we can go out and we can get you on videotape. Out on the YouTube channel.
You never know. I'm trying to step away from the teaching thing.
Okay.
I get to I will. I definitely would like to come out and help and stuff like that. But I always say practice perfect, and I would rather be perfect and alive than almost perfect but dead.
For sure.
so we kind of draw a line in the sand, and you most, like I said. But if you catch yourself constantly overestimating your ability, like we say, know your size. If you don't know your size, you're kind of going a little bit over. That's a thing, and it's more of a personality characteristic than it is actually anything else, and you can see it in other aspects. But generally, you don't get to where you've gotten in life and with racing and riding by being that way. Generally those guys are kind of wadded up, and maybe they're not allowed to ride anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how it works. So anyways, I'm looking for some good times and big success out of you guys. I hope you guys have a really good time with it. I will make sure I get you tuned up with Johnny and the bike. I know I was going to put the picture up, but I couldn't. Maybe I'll try to do it here in the last part of the show. Basically, it's a bike. The subframe's off of it. There's 2 wheels on it, right?
We saw both wheels.
Yeah, I think there's a brand new subframe wrapped up, but Johnny does some modifications to the airbox and different things just to make it super sano. I mean, it's just purpose built to go and do a race, and hopefully you'll go out and get a time to get a feel for it. Throw some filter, oil change, tires, and hit the start line.
It sounds great. I can speak for all 3 of us when I say how much we appreciate what you've done and what Johnny doing for us. And thank you. It's a opportunity of a lifetime for us. And I know we all appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I hopefully we'll get you guys some good exposure, get Johnny some good exposure. I mean, we're always trying to, I always get all these just different weird kind of questions and people asking things. And like I said, you asked a really good, is like, can I help with this? This is what we're going to do. I'm like, well, that's really cool. That thing, that could be an interesting story. So, good luck with that. And, with that, we will see you guys, out on the trail, and I'm going to keep kind of rolling forward with some of the show. I got to go over I think I have some questions from our YouTube videos. I was going to try to call Kendall and see if he'd come over here, but he's scared of this show. So, okay, guys.
All right, guys.
Awesome to see you. And I'm going to hang up the meeting on you guys.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye-bye.
So that was, Mike Dougherty, Bill Dougherty, and Dean Taylor, who are going to ride Reno to Vegas, the Vegas to Reno, the other direction, in a few weeks on a JCR Honda for dirt bike test, because we're sick of watching Trevor race all the time. And we think these old guys can do a lot better than him anyways. And they're getting us some video content and pretty cool things along the way. So thanks to them. And the next thing we do is we answer questions and all of our videos that are up on YouTube. So the YouTube is dirtbiketest.com, at dirtbiketest. Go there. And Riders Oregon says, in my opinion, the Husaberg with the forward-facing cylinder felt kind of like there wasn't a lot of weight on the front wheel. Well, it's funny because technically there was more, but there was less because the spinny part was more near the center of the chassis. So when the motor was running, it wouldn't. When the motor was running, it wouldn't have as much effect as a lower placed crank. So I always said that that's the best bike in the world if you could ride it on one wheel, meaning the rear wheel or the front wheel, which is how I thought I would ideally like to ride all the time. You know, hauling ass on the rear wheel, on the brakes on the front wheel, and it was really good. But boy, that bike had horrible showroom bounce because it did feel heavy because the weight was up higher in the chassis, and different riders experience different stuff. So we do a lot of videos here on Dirt Bike Test. Our Yamaha WR125 riding in impression, focused for off-road. Experience Pureness says the reason the WR125R is available in the U.S. is because Japanese motorcycle dealers in the U.S. often refer to products available in Europe where motorcycle regulations make 125cc bikes ideal for beginners. In Southeast Asia, Yamaha offers the WR155R, with similar features, but equipped with a 155cc VVA engine, roughly 8 to 9 pounds lighter, and when converted to US dollars, it costs only about $2,300. Wow. The 155 engine should be better suited for the U.S. market because U.S. motorcycle regulations are much more lenient than those in Europe with a 155cc engine. You can legally ride on roadways through the U.S., so you might save time when commuting to and from off-road tracks. I don't know how much of a difference going from 125 to 155 would actually make in time, but I guarantee you that increase in CCs would be pretty substantial in the overall, what do I want to say, in the percentage gain, because I'm going to do a project bike with that, and I know that if I get a different exhaust, I will have a percentage gain that would be ridiculous if I compared it to a percentage gain on a current 450 motocross bike. I mean, ridiculously better because it's really corked up. Where can I get that 155cc kit? That's what I want to know. Maybe we'll see. On our almost top speed on Honda 450X, Pulsa 3092 says that's an X. Okay. You're right. Good catch. I'm just going to reply to him with that. I know it's an X. That's what it says in the title. Almost top speed. I could have said almost. I could have said maybe, quite possibly top speed, almost already on a Honda that we're not telling you what it is. Dave Kintz on our Yamaha 125 video says, just buy a leftover or used X2 250, lighter, air-cooled, and more power. It's funny because when I saw this, I'm like, that's not a bad deal. But I tell you what, this Yamaha 125 actually, because I've ridden the XT, and the XT feels kind of lazy, and it doesn't handle as good. I don't think the suspension is nearly as good. And maybe this is the same thing with that 155. Maybe Yamaha took some time to make this new one handle better. And the more I ride it, and I've been riding it a lot lately, the more I'm surprised by how good the for what it is, how good it is for what it's doing. And I'm not just saying this. Yamaha does support this show and this podcast and our channel and our website and everything. They help us out. And I tested a Honda. There's a video of a Honda XR 150, and I want to get another one back here because I want to ride them back to back because I think the Yamaha will literally walk all over that thing. But yet to be seen. I just don't remember the Honda handling as good. I remember the suspension on Honda being surprisingly good in the same direction that Yamaha's kind of been stiff. You know, they're it's like set up for bigger people or for kids to be able to ride harder, which usually was never the case, especially with that XT. And so it'd be interesting to ride them back to back, and I probably will do that. On our Triumph 450 TF450E full race test and review, HTA Racing says, I have a different ECU on the bike with mapping and a full Acra. It's Akrapovic. I always said it wrong. Akrapovic. Something. I can't even pronounce names. Definitely helps with the power. It didn't lose the rideability. Still very nice. By the way, I switched my beer up in case you were wondering. I started the show with a really high-end beer, and now I'm just going to have something, just a suds. So that's what we're on to tonight. Let's see. Oh, this guy modified his bike, and he did all this stuff to it. So good. Glad to know the map in the pipe will wake it up, and the suspension definitely needs some help for heavier riders. I don't think so, but I'm going to hit reply on that because AI said it. Because everything AI says is correct, especially when it tells me to do something completely wrong on a motorcycle. And this is why you shouldn't trust it, because when it tells me to do something that will completely destroy my bike, I say, thanks, that worked awesome. Thanks for the help. The Kawasaki KLX 230 Sherpa riding impression. Real solo adventure bike. Says Gina Lugaba is 853, whatever. No, it's not real solo. It is real solo adventure bike. I guess. Depends on where you're coming from. Where are you from? I challenge you to do not the race on the TW200. Says that to Trevor about his Big Bear thing. Barn Cycle says, I may get my wife one of these Yamaha WR125Rs. That'd be smart. Tell him Jimmy Lewis and Dirt Bike sent you. Hello, Dirt. Thumbs up on the bike packing idea on your Yamaha WR125. Please do this. Please send a big donation of money to support my camping trip, because I'm an influencer and I don't have a GoFundMe set up yet. That's what I just replied to him. I really didn't. And Rich Davenport wants one. He wants a 2026 Yamaha WR125. And Psycho Victim 55 says, get the skid plate for it. Kicked a giant rock into the frame the second I took it into the woods. So I actually had a lot of, like when I was riding it the other night, there was a lot of rocks flying up and hitting the frame. I mean, making some loud clanks. And I got a good dinger in the frame from one of them. So that might not be a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. I got to check to see if Cherbys makes this plastic skid plate. They probably do, because those things are a world bike. On my 2023 Yamaha TTR 230 video review, Anthony Nikolich says, does not rev out. It's got a 70 millimeter bore. You should ride a Honda CRF 230 with a 65 millimeter bore, and you will realize that not only the Yamaha revs, it's a WR 250 compared to the Honda. I will agree with you that the Honda is probably not as revvy as the Yamaha. And this is, if you're talking like, Honda and Yamaha play bikes, Honda strives for a lot more torque than Yamaha, and Yamaha strives for a lot more revs than that. So yeah, I agree, but this bike doesn't rev when compared to a regular bike. That's not how you make power. It's not like the WR125R, like where you got to rev it. But crazy thing about the WR125 is how long that power band is with that variable valve timing. It really does work. Let's see. Jimmo says, I would choose the Yamaha WR125 over the Honda Trail 125 when they are in a similar price range. I would if you're looking for something where you're going to stay on the street and I mean, just full grocery getter, like that's where the Honda's like lighter. It's a step through frame. It's not a real motorcycle. The WR125R is a real motorcycle. So you should know that. So we're answering our questions from YouTube. So if you put a question in your video and you wonder why we don't get back to you, because we do it on this show every Tuesday, almost every Tuesday. Every Tuesday that I can remember to do this show, we do this show. We answer 9 out of 10 motorcycle questions without referring to a reference manual. We get our questions from the chat live during the show, or you can just comment on the video or wherever it is, and we will get back to you. You can also send us an email. It's my name. My name is Jimmy, and at dirtbiketest.com. Let's see. Oregon Rider says, yeah, the Husaberg with the tilted cylinder has its own handling feel. Yes. And Ray Groom, Hanley rides an XT250. Uh-oh. Oh, we going to race now or something? Well, you want to come and steal your kid's bike and go racing with me? I'll bring that WR125 to the game. Okay, so that's our YouTube videos. Thanks for checking out. Hey, if you are curious about watching this, hold on a second. I think I can watch this.
God bless you, Ricky. Aren't you the cutest little thing?
I'm allergic to you.
That's all right. You'll be okay. I'm gone in 2 seconds.
Anyhow, everybody does hard work. You can't just jump on a motorcycle and ride. But I'm just kind of trying to focus on keeping the points lead.
There's definitely a handful of guys out there that are fast, and it just so happens that RC's the one with the points ahead of me in the points. So, I mean, he's always the guy that that I'm kind of.
That's a segment of Motor World 2 Rev It Up show. Our guest from last week, Jerry B, doing an interview, and I like that Ricky Carmichael is allergic to Jerry. Maybe I should develop some of that. I don't know. So you can check that out on Motor World 2 on YouTube. Go there, subscribe, like, tell them that you learned about it on Dirt Bike Test, because those guys have been really helpful. Jerry, especially with this club, the good team with a bad name, the GTBN, helping us out. Also, he said he could take you. Hey, Ray, does he know who I am? Do I have to pull out like some cred here? Like I'm looking for like a Langtown trophy or something that's probably hanging out in the studio or something like that. Man with a Gun just commented, Jimmy, do you ever use fuel additives? I swear by Yamaha's Fuel Med RX and Engine RX for my carb bikes and Jennies. So the FI bikes be a splash from time to time as well. So Man with a Gun, I've had mixed results with fuel additives, and I've never really done. So I did a couple different things. Back a while back, I poured a bunch of gas into glass jars, and I put caps on them with a small bleed in them so they could vent a little bit. And I put different fuel additives in there to kind of watch and see kind of what happened and what stuff did. Because I was really curious about this. What I was told was kind of a mold that grows in carburetors and like an enzyme or something, or some of these had enzymes. There's so many different things and stuff. And I never came to any sort of a real conclusion, but I will tell you that the one that I've had the most success with and the best repeatable results with is the Chevron Techron cleaner. And there's like 4 or 5 different kinds. They had a Power Sports one that I had really good luck with. It seemed that if stuff was starting to go bad, and this is specifically more specifically to fuel injection than the carbureted stuff. But if it seemed like stuff was starting to go bad, the Chevron could actually do a little bit of cleaning and help stuff out. Where some of the other ones, I didn't really have that much luck. The things I had success with on carbureted bikes is I always, and we're hot and dry here, not humid. So I had more luck with leaving the fuel on and always gas in there and just starting the bikes on a regular basis. If the fuel was in there for a long time, having some sort of a fuel preservative also seemed to help. I used some of the Honda stuff for a while. I had a good supply of it, so I was using that. It seemed to help. And some of them seemed to help, but some of them seemed to do nothing. The only other thing that I noticed that cleaned a little bit was seafoam. But not as good as the Chevron. And the other thing I also did is if I stored bikes 2-stroke or 4-stroke, but mostly 4-stroke, I would put, because the 2-stroke already had oil in the gas, I would put a little bit of oil in the gas. So maybe 100 to 1, I would mix the oil in the gas and make sure it got in the carburetor. And that actually helped a ton in just, it seemed like if the gas did start drying out or something, it just had that oil coating in there and it helped it. So even when I took them apart, if they did get bad, they cleaned a lot easier. So, those are some of my, that's what I've experienced. I've been talking to the guys at Liqui Moly a little bit. They have some different kinds of additives. Some of their additives, are for performance and some of them for longevity of fuel and longevity of parts inside the fuel system. So I want to do some testing with that. In fact, last week I was riding a bike that hadn't been ridden much since last October. And when I started it, it was a little funky. The gas wasn't all that great. There was a little bit left in the tank. I threw in some of the Liqui Moly shooter into it, and the bike's idling like a top and everything good now. Now, it could have just been the fact that I ran 3 tanks of gas through this thing. 3 5-gallon tanks of gas through this thing. And it just slowly cleaned itself out, but it's working fine now, and that's what I put in there. So yeah, the Techron stuff is kind of my go-to, and I'm happy with it. Enough to where I would suggest it to people, and I have. Speed Freak 11 Speed Freak 11 says, trivia on a 99 ATK 605 cross-country dirt bike engine, what kind of head gasket does it use? Okay, never rebuilt an ATK 605. I've seen a lot of Rotax engines apart because I've been to some different shops. Like I actually, down in Costa Mesa, got to go check out Ron Wood's shop, who knew how to build a mean Rotax motor, evidently. What kind of head gasket does it use? Probably a head gasket. I don't know. It Cometic. So, and ethanol isn't helping it last long either. So ethanol, yes, ethanol is bad. I think they've started getting better with formulating some of the fuel lines and stuff to handle kind of what ethanol does. You think ethanol's bad? You should see what Pemex does to a plastic gas tank. It can turn a white gas tank brown in a matter of a month. Rotax, no head gasket. What, O-rings? That could be. Who knows? Ron built a head for you. Okay. Okay, does it come stock with no head gasket, or did he actually machine in O-ring grooves? Don't know, but yeah, I didn't pay that much attention to exactly what the head gasket was. So, yeah. So the ethanol, the good thing about the ethanol is it absorbs the water and it takes the water. But then if you're in a humid environment, that's a whole different thing. And then it is yeah. So, listed as Mike Kmet says, I listed a 605 for sale. Dug up your review you did at Cycle World. I wrote a dual sport one. I did a nice review. I remember me and Kenny Jones went out and I was kind of impressed with it for such a heavy bike. It worked a lot better than expected, is what I recall. And then I actually raced one at a National Hare and Hound in Utah, and it would be really interesting to remember how I did on that. But I flew up to Utah, met with Ron Greiwe and Frank White, and drove down to the Hare and Hound at Cherry Creek, raced a big, heavy, single-sided frame with the oil tank in the frame ATK with a big, heavy road. It was not slow. I don't think I did all that great, but who knows? Can't remember. Just another day in the life. Just doing my job, testing motorcycles at the highest level, which we still try to do here today at Dirt Bike Test. So that's about it. We've done a full 2 hours, lighter than the XR 650 that he might come at. Yeah, the ATK was big and heavy, but actually I did a dual sport ride down in Mexico with. That was a pretty cool ride. We had an ATK on that one. I got to ride with Malcolm Smith, Gary Jones, and Danny Laporte, and myself, and we did a big loop down through Baja on a dual sport ride as well. So yeah, I have a little bit of ATK experience. So what else do we have? So thanks to all the sponsors of this show. I gotta redo. It's $290. That sounds about a good time to send out some invoices for procuring millions of dollars. If you want to sponsor this show, let me know. I will try to do a better job with it. Maybe I'll try to be more consistent, and I could possibly talk about your products on this show or whatever. I can do a sponsor read. You could tell me what to do. Tugger says they're coming on, by the way. The Tugger toe strap. See, this is not a sponsor. This is an impromptu read. So this is the Tugger strap, and this is the dinosaur, and he wants to eat the Tugger strap because this is how we get all the views by doing awesome content, because I'm an influencer. Tugger strap. This wraps around your forks, and you can tug on it, or this is actually a tow rope, the Tugger tow rope, that if you're riding with a guy named Link, you will need to tow his bike out of the desert. Or you'll get sick of towing his bike, and then you'll have the guy that brought him, his name is Jimmy too. Well, you'll have Jimmy tow Link out of the desert, and then Jimmy will ride up behind you without Link, and you'll say, "Hey, where's Link?" And he goes, "Oh, I thought he was right behind me." And I go, "You were towing him." True story. And so on that note, everybody, glad to have you join the show. Thank you to our over 60 team for getting ready to do Vegas to Reno. Check them on Old Guys Moto on YouTube. I'll put them on our social. Follow us on the at whatever's, at Instagrams and at Facebooks and at something. I even think I have an X account these days, but I don't know. On OnlyFans, you can watch me work on motorcycles naked, but you have to pay extra. So with that, we will see you out in the trail, everybody. Cheers, and one more. And then this. Bye-bye. If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.